requesting that the City of Garden City pay funds in the amount of $216,299.05 for 2015 and the amount of $166,298.61 for 2016. The funds allow the Garden City Rec Commission to pay their payroll liabilities, and accounts payable.
So let me start here. Okay. You correctly identified the issue, Mayor. Just some background. The Recreation Commission is a component unit of the City of Garden City. Following their November 30th board meeting, representatives of the board approached city staff requesting assistance to close this projected shortfall. As identified, the remaining 2015 unpaid liabilities include what we estimate to be $91,836 in change in payroll, a little over $52,000 in payroll liabilities, and then a remaining accounts payable as of December 5th of $72,422. There's also the nature of when the Recreation Commission receives their largest sum of money in 2016 that makes up a big part of their revenue portfolio. We advised that it would be appropriate to look at the expenses that are projected between January 1st and January 20th to 25th, somewhere in there. Those are estimated to be payroll of $70,000, payroll liabilities of $30,000, a lease payment to Commerce Bank of $52,970, and then also the insurance premiums. The Board of Directors of the Recreation Commission are asking that the City Commission provide funds so that the amounts can be paid. These funds would come from the Community Trust Fund with a repayment plan. Without these funds, the Recreation Commission will be unable to meet their payroll that is due this Friday and will remain in arrears to other debts listed above. And we've attached for your review the outstanding liabilities. The City is requesting that a management study be conducted on the Recreation Commission operations and programs. The study would be funded through the City's general fund in 2016, and it's consistent with the study that we've used in a couple of occasions in our organization. Provide the funds to the, our alternatives before you would be to provide the funds to the Recreation Commission as outlined. We're describing those that deal with 2015 as phase 1, those that deal with 2016 as phase 2. You could deny this request, or you could do some other arrangement as you deem necessary. Our recommendation after working with the Rec Commission Board of Directors is alternative 1, which would also include the authorization of a management study. That is certainly something that's within my authority, both from a cost standpoint and from a direction standpoint to commission. But since it's related to a component unit of city government and not necessarily our operations, I probably feel better if I had a sense that you were on board with that as well. Fiscal note, the total cost to the city of these two phases is $382,597, not including the management study. This total amount will be reimbursed through 2 methods. The first method would come by the City of Garden City selling the properties at 302 North 6th, 306 North 6th, and 305 North 7th. One of these properties, the largest of these properties, we were already in discussions about selling. These properties have a book value of $233,000. The second method of repayment will come from the first distribution of property taxes. We would simply deduct the amount that was advanced to them in January 2016.
Do we know how much it is? About
5 mills at $180,000 a mill.
They get roughly $980,000 in ad valorem tax. So usually the first half payment when it comes in January would be right around $400,000.
$400,000.
Yeah.
Of course, they need some of that, but
Yeah.
we probably wouldn't get our final payment till what, the second?
The second distribution,
Yeah.
that comes in June, after
June.
you pay your second half taxes in May.
I'll wrap up here and then turn it over to the discussion. The city would, additionally, the city would agree to pay for, without seeking reimbursement, a management study to be done on the organization, but also to be done for the purpose of being done on kind of the topic of recreation in general in the community. The management study would gather focus groups on the topic, visit with stakeholders, visit with their staff, visit with the appropriate contacts on our staff, maybe more from a maintenance standpoint or management oversight, finance standpoint, and other organizations as well. And I estimate that cost to be around $30,000 based on the most recent one we've done, and upping that price a little bit because there's going to be far more stakeholders in a discussion on recreation than there ever were about municipal court. So that's the extent of my presentation. I do know that the Board of Recreation Commission has a representative. Michael, are you going to address the commission?
Micah Bunch, Garden City Recreation Board member. Answer any questions you may have.
I thought, do we pay the Blue Cross Blue Shield? Don't we get 1 mil, Matt?
They, outside of the 5 mills that they levy using our taxing boundaries, they can make a request for benefits, and in this last year that was 300,000. It's not necessarily tied to any one benefit. It's a benefits fund. In past years, that's been as low as 0 or something less than 300.
It was usually 1 mil of the city, so it was, the year before last, it was 175,000.
So they actually could get up to 6 mils, right?
Oh, more than 300,000. so
There's no
almost 2
lid on
million.
that other
Okay.
request.
Okay.
On the lease agreement, in the terms, I noticed that the Garden City Rec Commission is responsible for liability insurance and property insurance and the property tax on those buildings. But I didn't see any figures in these amounts here. I didn't know when those payments are due, if they're spread out monthly or all one lump sum, or how that's done.
One lump sum.
Okay, and do you know what those amounts are?
Not off the top of my head, but I can get that for you. They were paid in June.
They were paid in June.
Is that an annual payment, Terry?
Yes.
Okay.
If we pay and what you need, which is $382,000, and if we sell the property and if we come back with 233, you're still out about $149,000 for the remainder of the year. What are you going to do? That's a lot of money to make up and try to figure out how you're going to succeed to continue, what programs you're going to have to close. I don't expect an answer, because I think you yourself won't know until you know what we do here today. But sometime along the line, I'd like to have you come back and explain what your programs are going to be, because you're going to have to do something. You can't keep putting on the boots the same way that you've been doing it. It's time to look at what caused these things, correct these things, and go forward. But I know you can't answer those questions now, and I don't expect you to.
I can't say that. In the interim, we have begun meeting with department heads and staff on a weekly basis to go over and make sure that the department heads are aware of their budgets and what financial impact they have on the commission. I don't know that in the past they've always been aware of how that sets. So the commissioners, we've kind of broke up into several different groups, and we've begun meeting with them on a weekly basis to kind of shore that up, talk about, we've already asked them to come back to us if, you know, worst case scenario, let me know what programs you could live without, you know, kind of see, you know, what they could do differently. We realize that there are going to have to be cuts and changes. I mean, that's just reality. So we've sat down with the staff. We made them completely aware of the financial status and, you know, what it's looking at. And so they're aware, they know it's coming. And I think a complete look at everything as a whole is absolutely what's needed.
Yeah, and I don't know how much the core health program out there brings in, but my figures, looking at what I've been able to gather up, looks to me like you got to have about $200,000 a year to just pay the bills and pay the lease and to pay the $500,000 that you owe on the equipment. So when you're talking about what programs they can give up, you know, if we're giving away T-shirts or something like that, that's a small amount. You're going to have to give up a lot of big things in order to make this thing work.
Yeah, the cuts are going to have to be, or changes are going to have to be, you know, of a nature that are drastic enough that it makes a difference. You're right, it cannot be T-shirts, it can't be small marketing campaigns, it has to be on a larger mark. We have spoke with staff, especially relating to core fitness, and because that's where one of the major concerns is at, and I believe going back to the beginning of the year, that is where, you know, where problems started arising. We need to double, if not triple, the memberships out there, and sitting down with the director out there and speaking to her and you know, really pushing memberships and everything for core fitness. That's just a must. It has to happen. There might be, we don't know what it looks like. There may be some increases in membership rates. Right now, we just don't know. We've honestly just been trying to figure out a way to pay the employees, you know, right here before Christmas and everything, but an overall review of everything is very much needed.
Well, you're going to have the same problem with Clinton Lightner Field when
Yeah.
you put in a turf at $500,000. How many baseball games are you going to have to go and charge people to use the field? I think that I'll be up on the hill before you get that done. So I think you got a lot of work ahead of you.
Who's Micah? Who's in charge now over there?
We
Right.
have not actually named an interim. We've decided to kind of break it up among the commissioners, just for the time being until we can, you know, stabilize everything the way it is now and look to appoint an interim director maybe in the next few weeks or so.
Okay.
There's one more leased property that's on campus that I remember we talked about in a pre-meeting, and I didn't see any monthly payment for that lease in these figures.
Is that Gloria?
2,500, I think, isn't it?
No.
You talking about Mary Street or Gloria?
Campus, I think, is that,
What's
they call it Gloria.
Is that our storage building
Yeah.
up there?
We actually just own that.
That's owned by the city of Garden City, I believe, isn't it?
Oh,
Or are we the deed? Name of the deed?
Not, it's either one of us.
It's not leased, it's owned.
okay.
Are these properties that we're selling, are those, who holds the deed to that?
City of Garden City.
Okay, so we can put those on the market.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Well, I think we don't have much of a choice here, but to help you out, and hopefully you can get back and balance the budget for next year. So, I don't know if there's any other questions from the audience.
I guess I have one. Is there any, I mean, it sounds like it's not real clear, but is there any explanation as to how the budget is like? Is that now? Yet, or is that something you guys are still determining?
If I were to name one thing, I would say that core fitness has been probably the biggest impact on the budget within the last 12 months. You know,
Payment.
payment, the lease payment is quite large. I'm positive that with going back, strategic planning, you know, reevaluating everything the way that we're looking at it, and being a little more, for lack of a better, I guess, being a little more tight with the budget and just really comb everything through it, we can get this back into shape. But, you know, as Commissioner Dale mentioned, it's not going to be an easy road, and it's definitely not going to be something that is going to just be small cuts here and there. They're going to have to be drastic program changes. It didn't get here overnight, and the fixes, it's going to take some time.
I think the management study will be an extremely valuable tool.
We're very excited about that. We welcome that, and we're very thankful that City Manager here recommended that. That's something that we had been talking about as a board, is bringing someone in and doing some sort of strategic planning. And so, yes, we're very thankful and welcome that.
Can I ask one more question? I guess, is there any way to know at this point if there's going to be any other shortfalls, or is it too soon to say?
Right now, I can't say for 100% certain. We're going to do everything in our power to make sure that doesn't happen. I think back in the end of September, beginning of October, we directed staff to really put a freeze on all types of expenditures that were not of a true necessity, in order to make sure that those types of things don't happen. So nothing is getting paid without Jamie is our financial liaison on the board. Nothing's being paid, nothing's being put through, checks are not being written without his approval. So I think, I believe with that scope and look at things, that we can turn it around and hopefully prevent anything like that from happening.
One question I had on here, there's it says marketing Sarah Waller for $7,000. Did you authorize that?
No, sir, we did not. And actually, I found out about this arrangement late last Thursday evening. Well, actually, we first noticed it on this, the aging detail, the accounts payable, and started questioning what that was. Ms. Waller is an employee, I believe, with Sammy's Enterprises, and part of her employment arrangement there was to do $7,000 in contract marketing work with the Recreation Commission.
A year?
Yes, sir.
A year.
To date, I know that she's only designed or provided a couple of posters and one postcard. We've had discussions with the Rec Commission that, was that worth $7,000 work? We don't believe so. So we're going to maybe have some discussions with her, go back. There's not a written contract, it was a verbal agreement. So I think that, there's something we could be, if it comes down to the fact that we still have to pay that, I still think that there's still a lot of work that we could in the future get out of her, because we have not received $7,000 of work. And I don't think it's any fault of Ms. Waller's at all.
Commissioners, you have any more questions? Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who'd like to speak? Yes, sir. If you'll come up to the front and say who you are.
Dean Kleisthuber. I'm just concerned that, and that question, probably no one can answer it, why can't the rec and the Y work together? There's always been a conflict there, and it's gone back a long ways. I was on the board at the Y when the rec came into the building, and that's been a long time ago, and probably no one remembers that. But it's never, and it's all about the community being served. It shouldn't be about the rec, it shouldn't be about the Y. It should be about serving the community. So why can't these two organizations work together And, you know, one's tax-based, the other one's pretty much funded privately. So, is there any comment like that?
Probably a great question for both boards and both staffs. I will tell you that the idea, yeah, the idea of the management study would be that that management study look at small R recreation as much as it looks at the organization of Garden City Recreation Commission. And certainly it was anticipated when we set up their meetings with stakeholders and all of that, that not just the why, but club sports and all the other things that have grown in the absence of really, I mean, if people are starving for something, and they're starving for something, that's why they go and start other ventures, right? So whether there can be something that comes out of that that improves that relationship, that's great. If there's something that comes out of that that improves both organizations, that's great. If it improves how other people do their version of recreation in the community, because that's a pretty broad net, right? I mean, it's not just youth sports and free weights. It's
Certainly.
it's more stuff than that. So,
but there are, as a taxpayer, there are cities that don't even have a rec commission.
absolutely.
And I don't know how well.
And there's cities that don't have Ys, and there's
Right.
cities that don't have club sports, and yeah, you know, bringing an unbiased opinion in from the outside to examine and find efficiencies seems to make a lot of sense to us. And you know, we don't want to be in the. I don't think the commission does, and I certainly don't want them to, from a staff point, be taking up December budget issues for something that isn't a budget that we oversee.
But who
Isn't that
who oversees the rec board?
The commission has the power, the city commission has the power of appointment over the rec board.
Of appointment, but
Appointment.
as far as day-to-day operation.
The rec board oversees the operations of the commission, of the staff.
So at some point, the board doesn't have the authority to step in and say, hey, this is getting out of line when you have a $300,000 deficit?
I think that may have been what occurred last week.
Okay, just one other statement. One thing that
I think most of your questions are really questions for the rec board, so if you'd like to set up a time, you can go meet with them. I think that might be more appropriate. We're handling a request from the rec commission about their budget situation. I don't know.
Yeah, I understand that.
I don't know. that
At
we're-
some point, it's gotten out of hand, I mean,
Yeah.
obviously. Just one other statement that I don't think it's really right that tax entity, the rec commission, starts leasing property from an individual who, I mean, if I own commercial property, I would love to get in a lease agreement with the rec commission. The return he's getting on those buildings out there are way, way high. I've never got those kind of returns. So I don't know who made those type of decisions, but those are the type of decisions that got the rec in trouble financially. So, thank you.
Thank you.
It's my phone. If you want me to move it, I'll move it.
No,
I think she was afraid somebody misplaced it.
I thought it was hers.
Well, my recorder didn't have its chip in it, so.
Sorry.
No, that's okay.
I make a motion that we provide the funds to the Garden City Rec Commission in 2 phases, both amounts to be taken from the Community Trust Fund with repayment plan. City will pay for the management study of the Rec Commission without repayment. Phases would be at the following times with amounts listed. Phase 1, December 2015, $216,299.05. Phase 2 will be January 2016, at $166,298.61.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carried. Being no further business, we'll adjourn.